Well, welcome back to an in-depth video, and it's going to be another mixed bag because the last few weeks have been pretty complicated. We have so much going on here, both with film production and this, and we even have another model build starting next week, which is going to be a Defiant, tough little ship. And we've been working on this. So I'm going to kind of show you different stuff. You seemed to like the mixed bag last week, so I'm hoping you don't mind. What I'm doing here is we made a mold, and Eric helped me do this. And in fact, he laid up all this stuff, and he laid up the silicone. I think he did a really good job. He's never worked with silicone before, and he brushed all this up. You didn't have time to stay to do the two-piece mold because I really am reluctant to make a one-piece mold for the mother mold on this because you probably won't get it to release. So I'm going to do it in two pieces, which takes a little bit more time. And what I'm doing here is just making a very simple mother mold and going to put a few keys in it here. And so we're going to lay up the clay like so and put some keys in it so it locks up again. This is not a real critical mold. It's going to key no matter what, just by nature of all the globulars here that it will key into, but nevertheless, I'll put a few keys in there. I'm using water-based clay, EM210. EM217 is actually a sculpting clay. EM210 is a clay used for doing this, laying up mold halves and that kind of stuff. So what I'm going to do next is going to mix up some Ultracal, and we're going to put it on here and build it up, and then they'll harden up, and then we'll Vaseline and do the other side. And then we'll open this mold up, and we'll have a nice mold for the handle for this. And then next week we're actually going to make up a gun body. I'm going to teach Eric how to do that with epoxy, and then we're going to also make up one of these parts, and we can get back to the gun, which I think will be great. So I'm going to mix up some Ultracal now, which is right down here. This is Ultracal 30, the Breakfast of Champions. There it is right there. You know, I could make a 1630 mold on this, which is a two-part polyurethane from BJB, which is excellent material. I'm running low on it right now, and I need to get more. So I want to save it for making parts. So I'm going to use this, which is old school, and we're just going to mix up a bit of it. I'm going to get some gloves first. Very simple material to work with. All it really is a super hard plaster. We call it tool stone. I always like to put some Vaseline in the bucket because then it releases very easily. And I'm going to put some water in this. And it doesn't take much water to make a lot of this stuff. I'm worried that this is even too much. So I'm going to get another bucket and pour it off. Yeah, it looks about right. Let's go scoop some in here. And of course, it's always important to make a mess when you don't have to. The one thing I don't like, one of the many things I don't like about working with any kind of gypsum product is it is messy. It is almost impossible to work with this stuff and not create a mess. It's annoying as heck. So we just did a life mask for our friend Carl, and somehow, some way, we didn't make that much of a mess. Now I'm just gonna mix this stuff up, and it can be a little on the thick side because this is just a mother mold. We're not looking to get any detail with this. I mean, obviously, if we were going to do a mold for a casting latex rubber into or foam rubber, then we would want to make it a little bit thinner and do a splash coat first. But this is a pretty versatile material, very old-fashioned, and we're going to just kind of do this. Just making sure I don't have bubbles in the keys. Just going to build it up like this. And then we're going to sit and stare at it for a while because it will take a little bit of time to gel up. Unlike 1630 and other products that it could be using, this will take longer to set up than those materials. But that's okay, because while we wait, we'll go do something else. On a warm day like this, and it's actually not that warm today, it should go off, but it's warmish. It should go off pretty well, pretty fast. And I'm being very careful not to move it too much and have it slide all over the place, which it's starting to do. So you kind of have to just set it in place, let it sit there, let it thicken up, and then add more, and then you're done. I don't need much for this. So that's good. And so we're just going to let that sit. I got a little bit left in here, which I'll use to thicken it up. Once this sets up, it stops moving. It kind of goes through stages where it's watery like this, and then it'll get thicker and thicker, and then it'll kind of stop moving, but you can still shape it. And if you're really good at it, because you've worked with it for 40 years or more, like I have, you can actually kind of shape it even when it's wet like this, but you have to know when to stop. That's about as much as I want to do, or this whole shelf will just slide down. Okay, and I'm going to let that just sit for about 15 minutes or so. We'll go play with the robot. So what I've been doing with the robot is looking at pictures, which fool you, and then going and looking at video online. And there's plenty of it, of people with the Mondo Iron Giant figure about that big, and they turn it and move it and stuff. And really, in hindsight, I wish the heck I would have bought the Mondo action figure, but you know, now they're like, I don't know, ridiculous amount of money on eBay. So I decided to pass on it and work from that, which has cost me a lot of trouble, because this looks huge, but it really isn't. It is actually accurate to what's in the actual model. And I know this because I can stop the video at any point. I can pull a frame grab off of it. I can go in with calipers, and I can measure the thickness of the leg at different points, and I can compare it with this part here because I know how big this is. So it doesn't matter. I don't have to blow up the pictures. All I have to do is say, well, if this is that wide here, it's this wide here. Oh, it's too wide, make it narrower. And that's how I've been doing it, bit by bit. And it's taken a while, and this is now correct, but it still doesn't look correct. And the main reason is because you don't see the feet down here. The other reason is because this needs to be a bit flatter in on the sides, a little bit more of a point there. Then it starts to look right. The only way I'm going to get that is to actually put a bulkhead inside of here, which is probably the next thing I should look into doing. So we'll just remove this. Eventually, this will be all covered with styrene, this foam. Take that off. Isn't that cool? So this will all be covered in foam and styrene, much like, here's the side pieces, and this will be glued right to them. And then it can be filled with a little bit of stuff and painted. But working with the foam cores allowed me to very quickly and lightly, because that stuff's heavy, you know, build the basic structure, go, that's not right, and then do it again. So what I want to do now is I need a bulkhead inside there so it maintains the shape I need. So, and I need to have this go up a little bit higher so the fold points meet right about there. And we're going to make a basic bulkhead that goes inside of here. And so the only way I can do that is to sort of put it together, squish it to where I want it to be, and then go up inside with paper and make a bulkhead. My biggest problem, of course, is trying to compress this enough and hold that shape so I can draw a line around it. So I'm hoping I can compress it with some tape here. Like I said, this is a lot harder than it looks. I thought it'd be really easy, and I'd just be done in no time. Boy, was I wrong. But I want to compress this on the sides because it's dimpled out too far. A little bit in like that. There we go. Now I have to cut to the inside line, or it won't, oh, that worked. Or it'll be too big. I just want a basic bulkhead. Well, that somewhat gets it for me. Now I can really perfect it, because this does not look perfect. So I know this cuts it through to here. I can see right where that's supposed to be. So now I can see where that point is, so I can go like this. And then I can go like, I'm going to make it narrower, a little bit flatter on the sides. I told you this is hard. I need to cut to that inside line right there. And I can't forget about my ultracal over there, or it'll get too hard on me pretty soon, but this is a mixed bag today. Cut this right across to here. And then I gotta measure the size of the tubing, the PVC that's on this. That's a little lopsided looking to me, but then so I'm going to pull this in a little bit more like this, and I'm going to check over here, see how we're doing. See, you see how it is? It's starting not to move, so we're going to let it go a little bit more. Look, see? That's how it goes off this stuff. Now, I got to remember what is. I think this is the tubing I used for the legs. Looks about right. So put this about here, and that will be our first bulkhead. We want the outside diameter in there, and cut to the inside. Cutting to the inside, to the inside. And this will, at long last, keep this miserable thing from collapsing on me and changing shape and moving. But I'm going to need a second bulkhead, and we'll do that after we mess with the ultracal some more. This is sort of like Steve Neal live, but not live. I'm just kind of working, and Mary's kind of shooting. It's like a reality show. And on this reality show, we would have actual Cardassians, if I could have them, from Star Trek. Not that, yeah, not that other crap. Okay, so that's a basic bulkhead there. We're gonna cut this circle out to the inside. I love foam core. It's such instant gratification. You can build just about anything out of it, make sure it works, and then cover it with wood or use it for templates, or just cover it with styrene, or put fiberglass on it, or just paint it. Add a motor, make some wings, and go fly it. And a lot of you probably don't realize that model airplanes are made out of this stuff. See? So, and that way it'll fit right over the leg, which is going to be an interesting trick to get that up in there, but I'm probably going to do a slot on the back and have a piece removed. And if I'm right here, it should fit in here pretty good. There we go. It's a pretty good matchup too. I'm really quite surprised. So now, the leg is maintaining the shallow on the side and more of the point out here, and it's pretty darn good. So let's go back over here, since we're just having so much fun, and I really am. Look at that, eh? So, and this in here, I mean, it's not even moving anymore. So now, at this stage, I can do this. And I've got the gloves on. That's okay. For years, I never wore gloves when I was doing molds in the studios. None of us did. Gypsum's not really bad for you. It's not really good either, but it's not like, you know, super toxic or anything. It's mud. And this should make a pretty, you see how it's staying put, but yet I can still move it a little bit? Of course you can, it's on video. I think, really, that's going to be probably all the thickness we need of this material on here for, now it's not reinforced, I didn't put any fiber in or anything, but I don't think we need it, not for something like this, so. Now it's to that stage where, again, you don't want to mess with it too much or it will still slide, because when you agitate it, you get the molecules moving again. When the molecules are moving, they get slippery. So they are not solidifying. And the movement causes that. So be very careful at this stage. I worked with a guy once that literally broke into tears because he was making a mold and he wasn't used to making molds this way. And he got it to this point and he's trying to shape it and then everything slid down. And he literally, please, can you help me? Oh God, I'm going to lose this whole thing. It was really funny. The things you remember. Oh, but that was a pretty funny incident, I thought anyway. So you just have to know when to say stop. Don't mess with it. See, it's cooperating beautifully. So we'll smooth that out. As soon as this gets a little more chalk to it, a little chalky, we'll smooth it out. And then we're gonna let that sit. We're gonna work on the robot for a bit more and then do the other side of this. And hopefully we can open this today. So this is now very hard. Ow. So we're gonna remove the clay. And this is so easy to work with. It's so easy to do. I'm even gonna save the clay. Yep, I am going to do it. It's got some crud on it, but so what? Darn stuff's expensive. Everything's expensive. Soon it's gonna cost you $50 for a loaf of bread, the rate things are going. And we got some, a few little bubbles and stuff, but this is the case mold and we don't care. So what we're gonna do now is take the Vaseline and we're gonna Vaseline this up. Like so, because it will stick to itself, Ultracal. It most definitely will. We can't have that. Is that Christian singing again, Mary?
That's a lovely voice.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I'm gonna mix up some more of this gobbledygook. Be careful not to make a mess, he says knowingly. Here, you can use a little cup. It is dinky, isn't it? It's kind of stupid, but it's less of a mess. Oh, pain. Bad thumb. Doug Drexler calls it mold thumb. Because he asked me about it the last time he was here. He asked me, do you have mold thumb? I said, what the heck is that? My thumbs aren't moldy. He said, no, excruciating pain when you do this in here. And he figures it's from making molds and sculpting as we did in the industry all our lives. Oh, mold thumb. New one on me. Oh. It looks like it's about enough. I'm gonna mix it up, same as last time. A little squishy fishy. Elliot just loves it when I use terms like that. He'll even repeat them in emails to me. So, there we go. We want more. Yeah, it went all over the floor, of course. Okay, and a little more. I want to make sure I have enough. I kind of almost didn't the first side, so I want to make sure I have enough for the side. Same thing, mix it up, yada, 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 bing, bing, bing. And slap, slap, slap. It's a little thinner this time. And fill that in there. And I just heard from Bob Burns again. Somebody will know who Bob Burns is. And I have a TWA Moonliner kit on its way from Mr. Scott Alexander himself, who meant to give him one years ago. And I didn't know it was him, but I asked about getting him one. He said, no, 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 I was the guy that was going to give him one. I will send you a kit. So he also told me he's working on one that's 80 inches. Now, some of you won't know what the heck I'm talking about. What is an 80-inch TWA Moonliner? But that was the big, cool rocket ship to the moon that was at Disney during the 50s and the early part of the 60s. There's still one there, but it's a little dinky thing sitting on top of a Coke building or something. I don't really care for that one. I wouldn't turn it down. So there we go, same deal. I mean, I still don't think I made it quite enough, but you know, we'll find out here. I think maybe I can just make it here. So we're not gonna mess with this. I'm gonna let this sit. It's like we did before, go mess with the robot. Because I wanna check and see how the parts I made fit on the leg. Same thing, we don't wanna screw with it. Not one bit. And I'll probably forget gloves again. So I've made another brilliant, well, it's almost brilliant, bulkhead to go in there. It doesn't quite fit. It's pretty good. It'll be fine for this. So I have the one for the bottom and I have the one for the top. And I had to remove all the leaves from the top to be able to make this one. And I made a little arrow there so I know that's forward on this. This one I pretty much know how it goes. And we know this is the top one. I mean, look at it. So hopefully I recall how all this went together. So I'm gonna put this back together. We're gonna go check this on the leg, and then we're gonna take it apart and we're gonna make a whole bunch of these. Okay. Well, not a whole bunch, enough to make another leg. Or as Monty Python said, oh, a leg. There we go. And that's it, fits back together, pretty good, pretty good. We need the front one here. I kind of laid them all down in front of me, hoping I wouldn't forget where they went back. Eventually this will all be glued together, obviously, not taped together, although I usually leave the tape on because it helps hold it together while you're gluing. Come on. So how about that? Next generation's coming back with the older Picard. We have X-Files again. The world's starting to make sense again. Sort of. I won't go there. And Mary knows exactly what I mean. Look at that. The old dude actually figured out how it all goes back together. Right? I think so. So we're going to put this all together, and then we're going to go back over there and check it on the leg and make sure it's all working right. And then we're going to make another leg. Because now I'll be able to use all these parts here as templates to build a second one. And they'll match because they'll be mirror images of themselves. So. So this is the bottom, top. So I have to actually go inside and push it up in there. But what I'm going to do first is I don't want to have to unscrew the legs and everything and deal with this thing falling over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. Just laughing at Christian. Let's see, can I just, yeah, I can just kind of go like this. And of course, get away, fly, you bother me. And actually, yeah, I should have fanned that out a bit. I just figured out why too. So what I'm gonna do is glue this back like that, tape it back. What I'm hoping to do is kind of be able to snug fit it on. And if that works, now if you're smart, you'll make lines like this so you know that's where it goes. And arrow towards the inside, and boom. Now if I'm right, and I'm not always right, I should be able to go, see? That was the idea. So, because this stuff does kind of fold and let you do that. So, and then I just stick this part back in, or just glue it, you know. So this is, I gotta make sure this is forward on this one. Turn upside down. Yep, wrong way. This goes in here. And this doesn't seem like it fits at all, and I know it does. I love it when you lean the camera on me. Not every cameraman or woman does that. Oh, I see what it is. It's the tape. So that does go there. Okay, fine. Make sure that all that matches up just right. It does. And that's the front, correct? Yeah, I believe it is. So we're going to do the same thing again on this one. We're going to forward to the front. And there's still paper on the back of this one. This paper doesn't come off that easily for some reason, except when it does. Okay, that was amazing. I've been trying to get this stuff to come off easily all day, and it hasn't. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do a wide cut like this, a tapered cut. I'm going to make marks. This one will have 3, so I don't get things confused. 2 over here. That way I know which one they go to. And there we go. That's that one. Now let's see if this one fits. This is the lower leg, or the lower part of the leg. Now I'm gonna go like that. And so it fits. Very nice. Okay. So now all I have to do, now I have everything here, is replicate all this and make another whole assembly like this. And then, once both assemblies are done, I can cut styrene out, as you see here, and face the whole thing with it, and glue it on with white glue, I guess, something like that. But the bulkheads will hold its shape so it won't collapse like that. That's the theory. So now back over here, hopefully this is starting to cooperate. It is. See, I told you I forget to put gloves on. I'm gonna do this. See. This is called multitasking. And you have to be able to do that to be in this business. Otherwise, get out. Let's see. I might be a little short. Please don't be short. Today it's nice and cool. Mary and I are very happy about that. For Ventura, it's been pretty hot. It's been as high as 82 degrees here, which is blistering to us. and especially after a few days, because everything heats up. The ground, the walls, the roof, and plus it was really humid, like 98% humidity. But now, it's about what, 70, maybe? It's pretty good. So there we are. We're gonna let that tack up a bit. I'll smooth a little bit, and then it'll harden. We'll take it apart. In the meantime, I'm gonna start editing our show while that happens and come back and shoot some more and add it to the edit and that kind of thing. So I'll see you in a minute. So here we go. It's still a little warm, but we could probably open this really easy. And I'm basically just gonna force a screwdriver. Wow, that really opened easy. Force a screwdriver in there, kind of open that up. When you get the cracking you're hearing is the styrene. There we go. Nice and slow, Steve. Nice and slow. And there we go. You see how that encapsulates the silicone. I'm gonna get this side off. There we go. Like that. Then we're gonna bust that off. That was to catch the silicone so it didn't run all over the place, which it loves to do. I love opening molds. It's my favorite part for some reason. Oh yeah, because you're all done. Okay, all right. It's amazing how cyanoacrylate will glue, God, plastic, styrene to glass. So now what I have to do is get this part to come off the glass. So finally, all I had to do is get my finger in it the right way. I don't know why it's stuck over here. I would like to know why, because I would love to get silicone to stick to stuff and not come loose the way this is. But you can see the silicone clearly is sticking to that table, and it should not. But the mold's fine, so there we are. Now all we gotta do is get the part out, which is gonna be fun. It's like wrestling. What I like about the silicone is it can be very thin and it's so strong. It's got great tensile strength. That worked perfectly. What I had done, as you can see, so I could make a one-piece mold on this, I just put a piece of styrene in between, like that, to separate it. And the theory is that this would come right off, just because of that little separation, as the song would say. Try to keep them separated. And you can see there's just this little tiny line right there. That's all it is, but it's just enough to get this apart and then sand it. So anyway, that was very successful. Now I have to figure out which side goes back in. I think this side goes on this side. Doesn't it? I think so. No? They're very similar, so it's like I'm looking for something in it that tells me that that's the right side that goes in. I should have marked it. I was in too much of a hurry. That is it. You can see clearly how well that fits in there. Now we're going to put this side on. Like so. It closes up like that perfectly. And now we got a nice, well-supported silicone mold for our handle for this, which is fantastic because now I've got everything I need to make this entire gun barrel and handle. Next thing to do is next week is order a nice piece of acrylic tubing that with this diameter, and we're in business. We can start building this gun and we'll lay up the parts. Cool, really came out good.